Have you ever witnessed a moment so quiet, yet somehow the loudest inside your chest? A moment that doesn't ask for attention, doesn't seek justification, doesn't even try to be understood, yet it stays, settles in, and refuses to be forgotten. Hello everyone, welcome back to Jikook Moments. Here, we're not talking about grand scenes or gestures designed for the stage. We're not chasing spotlights or hunting for manufactured climaxes. We're talking about small things, about silences that sharpen emotion, about darkness that feels more honest than light, about silhouettes that say more than facial expressions, and about a moment from Are You Sure, almost unseen, yet deeply real. Because sometimes what lingers most isn't what the camera captures, but what goes straight to the heart. There are moments that don't need a clear definition to become unforgettable. Moments that don't wait for approval, don't ask for legitimacy, don't demand to be understood. They don't need names, labels, or official explanations. They simply happen, and then they stay. They cling to the skin, to the chest, to the softest space within a human being, the place where we store things that can't be put into words, yet are felt with near absolute certainty. Moments that live in the in-between, between light and dark, inside something the body feels before the eyes can catch it or logic can dissect it. And that iconic moment from Are You Sure stands precisely in that territory. It doesn't force itself to be remembered. It wasn't designed to go viral. It wasn't polished to become a talking point. It arrives almost without sound, and precisely because of that, its imprint runs deep. Let's start with the simplest and most suspicious fact. The video is dark. Truly dark. Not dark by accident. Not dark because of a technical error. This is intentional darkness, controlled, deliberate, and fully aware of its consequences. So dark that fans collectively slipped into extreme analysis mode. Screen brightness pushed to the maximum. Contrast mercilessly adjusted. Sharpness cranked up until the pixels seemed to scream. Absurd filters applied without hesitation. Screenshots compared frame by frame. Silhouette lines dissected like a secret map. Theories constructed. Threads created. Discussions branching in every direction. Enough to become a full dissertation, complete with abstract, methodology, and conclusions that are never truly final. And yet, after all that effort, one thing becomes ironically clear. Nothing is truly visible. What remains is only a silhouette. A silhouette standing too close to be coincidence. Too intimate to be neutral. Two bodies separated by a distance so thin the boundary between them blurs, until it's hard to tell where one ends and the other begins. And that is where the rawest honesty of this moment lies. Despite the minimal visuals, despite the near absence of tangible proof, no one truly doubts one essential thing. Something happened there. Something real. Something intimate. Something not meant to be seen, let alone displayed. Something that may have been captured by the camera purely by chance. And because of that, feels fragile, sincere, deeply human. That Jikook moment on the bed is unforgettable not because it's dramatic. Not because of grand gestures. Not because of a scene crafted to provoke reactions. It's unforgettable precisely because it's small. Because it's quiet. Because it's not loud. Because it feels like a slice of everyday life that was never meant to leave a private space. As if the camera, by accident, slipped into a moment that usually exists only when the world is turned off and no other eyes are watching. A moment that, in theory, should never be analyzed. And yet, of course, it is dissected down to the very last second. It all begins in the most deceptive way. It looks ordinary. Jungkook and Jimin are on their way to an activity. There's no tension. No atmosphere hinting at anything big. They're relaxed. The conversation flows easily. The energy is familiar, warm, like two people who've shared too much time together to still feel awkward around each other. Until Jimin, almost casually, mentions that he slept very late and feels exhausted. An everyday comment. Neutral. Unremarkable. Until he adds that small detail, the detail that shifts the entire dynamic of the conversation. He points to Jungkook as the reason. And Jungkook's reaction is the key. A simple, me? Not sounding like denial, but like an invitation. The tone isn't defensive, it's intimate. He asks why it's his fault with a teasing energy that only appears when two people understand each other's language without needing long explanations. Jimin answers calmly. Jungkook woke him up. And right at that point, the show takes us back to the previous night. Back to the room. Jungkook appears with a very distinctive demeanor. Not loud, not excessive, not theatrical. The way he approaches feels light, filled with affection that doesn't need to be announced. There's something almost domestic in his gestures. A comfort born of habit, not effort. Jimin is on the bed, phone in hand. His body relaxed. No alertness. No tension. No defensive gestures. He doesn't look surprised by Jungkook's presence. He doesn't need to prepare himself. He's in his own space, and more importantly, he feels safe. Then he turns off his phone. A small gesture, almost meaningless, yet its impact is total. The room immediately sinks into darkness. No additional lights. No dramatic music. No editing that guides the viewer's emotions. The camera remains static, as if the production is saying without words, this is where our territory ends. Beyond this, it is not ours. And yet, even in the dark, one thing feels unmistakably clear: intent. Jungkook doesn't hesitate. He doesn't stop. He doesn't reconsider. He moves forward with the calm of someone who knows very well the space he is entering, and the person inside it. The distance closes slowly, without rush, without awkwardness. From that point on, all that remains is silhouette. And the silhouette speaks. There's something protective in the way Jungkook moves. A quiet affection. An intimacy that doesn't require speed. There's no urgency. No nervousness. Just full presence. And because of that, it feels incredibly loud. And Jimin, without words, becomes the confirmation. He doesn't pull away. He doesn't tense up. He doesn't create distance. Instead, he stays. He adjusts. He receives the closeness as if it's a language he's known all his life. And that's where everything becomes unmistakably clear. Because in the end, what makes this moment so powerful isn't what might have happened, but what doesn't need to be questioned. There's no resistance. No confusion. No boundaries being negotiated on the spot. The production chooses to cover the audio with the sound of birds. A decision that feels like a direct message. This is not for you. And strangely, it doesn't frustrate. It makes everything feel more honest. Because all that remains is energy, gesture, silhouette, and the feeling of witnessing something that doesn't require translation or justification. The point isn't speculation. The point is comfort. How comfortable they are within an intimacy not meant for the public. How naturally they inhabit a space that belongs only to the two of them. An emotional space that doesn't need explanation because they both already understand its language. And perhaps that's why this moment lingers. In the shared darkness, in the silent closeness, on a bed that accidentally became a stage, something was etched. Something that doesn't need a definition to become unforgettable. Because not all intimacy is created to be understood. Not all moments ask for explanation. Some things are enough to be felt, and that's all. Thank you for watching and feeling this with us on Jikook Moments. Until the next whisper. Among the things unseen, yet always felt.